Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely chilling reality. How intense fixation and toxic obsession can push seemingly ordinary people to commit truly horrific acts. But we aren't just looking at the crimes themselves. We're going to examine them through the fascinating lens of circumstantial evidence. What actually happens when a killer tries to perfectly sanitize a crime scene? Like when there's no smoking gun, no DNA, and zero eyewitnesses. Well, let's jump right in and look at 3 deeply unsettling true crime cases that share one absolutely crucial thread. They were built and won almost entirely on circumstantial clues. To really set the stage here, listen to this quote. "Ever think about killing him? No, but I did." Those are the actual words of a mother, Dana Chandler, caught on a secret audio wiretap recorded by her own daughter, Haley. I mean, just imagine being so suspicious of your own mother that you actually wear a wire to get to the truth. This real-life recording hooks us right into the heart of the question we're exploring today. What does it take to prove a crime when traditional physical evidence is completely, literally absent? So let's open Case File 1, Dana Chandler, and the 23-year saga of obsession. Back in July of 2002, an engaged couple, Mike Sisko and Karen Harkness, were tragically shot and killed inside their Kansas home. The killer snuck in, left cash and a Rolex, totally untouched, and basically vanished without leaving a single fingerprint or even a drop of DNA. But investigators did find one staggering number, 600. That's the number of harassing phone calls Mike's ex-wife, Dana Chandler, made to the couple in just 6 months. That's right, 600. She had this massive history of intense stalking. I'm talking showing up in the middle of the night just to jump on a trampoline in Mike's backyard or spy through his windows. So we're looking at an undeniable, heavily documented pattern of rage here. Now, this created a massive dilemma for investigators. On one side, you have the missing physical proof, 0 DNA or fingerprints, no murder weapon found anywhere, and absolutely no eyewitnesses putting Dana in Kansas. But on the flip side, you have these damning circumstantial clues. Dana, who was living in Denver at the time, had this totally unexplained 27-hour cell phone blackout during the exact window of the murders. And it gets even more bizarre. Police found a receipt for 2 5-gallon gas cans that she bought right before the killings. Prosecutors argued she bought them so she could literally drive round trip from Denver all the way to Topeka without ever having to stop for gas, effectively dodging any surveillance cameras along the way. So the absolutely crucial question here is this: can a murder conviction actually stand when it's built entirely on jealousy and circumstantial clues? Her defense attorneys argued, you simply can't send someone to prison for life just because they're a jealous ex-wife who behaved badly. There was 0 physical proof placing Dana inside that house. Would a jury really convict someone based solely on a weird web of strange behavior, some gas cans, and a cell phone going dark? Well, the answer to that played out in a staggering 23-year legal nightmare. The murders happened back in 2002, right? But it took 10 whole years to even get a first conviction in 2012. And then that 2012 conviction was overturned because of prosecutorial misconduct. Fast forward to a second trial in 2022, which ended in a hung jury. Which finally brings us to 2025. Dana actually chose to represent herself in court for this 3rd trial. And despite her arguments, a jury found her guilty of first-degree murder. It took over 2 decades, but the circumstantial evidence ultimately held its ground. Okay, let's see how this builds in Case File 2, Brandon Holbrook and the cover-up across state lines. So, in September 2023, a beloved photographer named Joe Szymanski vanishes in Maryland, leaving behind just his car, his wallet, and a bloody driveway. Investigators pretty quickly zeroed in on his ex-wife's new boyfriend, a guy named Brandon Holbrook. But at trial, this case took a massive twist. Holbrook's defense strategy was to point the finger entirely at Joe's ex-wife, Heather Snyder. The defense attorney, Brendan Callahan, actually said, only one person's life is better today than it was before the murder, and that is Heather Snyder. See, Joe and Heather were locked in this bitter custody dispute over their kids, plus a massive life insurance policy. Heather even invoked her Fifth Amendment right not to testify during the trial. So the defense was really pushing the angle that she had the clear motive, not Holbrook. However, the physical reality for Holbrook, it was incredibly damning. While he strictly claimed he never left his home state of Pennsylvania that night and denied ever even meeting Joe, the police findings told a totally different story. A license plate reader actually spotted Holbrook's white truck right near Joe's house down in Maryland on the very day he vanished. And it gets worse. Searchers eventually found human remains matching Joe in a burn barrel, sitting in a clearing right near Holbrook's Pennsylvania home. Plus, they found all these cleaning supplies and tools stashed in his garage. Which brings us right back to that main question. Would circumstantial cleanup evidence be enough for a jury to convict without a murder weapon? Or, for that matter, without any hard proof that Holbrook was actually the one driving that truck? To build their case, prosecutors brought in text messages from months prior where Holbrook mentioned having other solutions in mind for dealing with Joe. They also had texts from Heather saying she was tired of waiting for karma to catch up with him. Oh, and remember those tools? They found power saw blades hidden in Holbrook's garage. Despite the defense's intense efforts to cast all the doubt toward Heather, who, by the way, actually had a solid alibi of buying pizza hours away, the jury was totally convinced by the circumstantial trail of the truck and the cleanup. It took them a mere 80 minutes to return a verdict. Brandon Holbrook was found guilty of first-degree premeditative murder and sentenced to life without parole. Now, our final story introduces a truly horrifying level of premeditation. Case File 3, Sean Doyle and the Toolbox Murder. This story actually doesn't begin with a murder. It starts with a terrifying warning sign 9 years earlier up in New York. The quote from teenager Cece Opanovsky here is just heartbreaking. After breaking up with her high school boyfriend, Sean Doyle, he broke into her home in this extreme possessive rage. He pushed her against doors, violently chopped off her ponytail with scissors, and choked her. As she recalled, "I knew nothing was ever going to be the same. I thought he was going to stab me." Doyle pleaded guilty, but for this incredibly violent act, he received a mere 3 years of probation. It was a clear, terrifying red flag of what he was capable of doing to women who tried to leave him. Tragically, the justice system's leniency here had fatal consequences. Fast forward to 2005. A 33-year-old single mother of two, Lori Leonard, vanishes completely. And who had she recently ended a relationship with? You guessed it, Sean Doyle. After she broke things off, he kept lingering around, even helping her move into a new apartment. When police searched her home after she went missing, there were zero signs of a break-in. But they did find one highly unsettling detail left behind: a single shoe, placed perfectly in the center of her bed. 3 months later, a fisherman spots a large toolbox floating out in a canal. Inside was Lori's body, and the items surrounding her, they locked Doyle in perfectly. Investigators found the exact serial number key for the toolbox's lock sitting right inside Doyle's truck glove box. Inside the floating box were sand tubes used to weigh it down. Identical ones were found sitting in his garage. The distinctive handcuffs and the specific bandanas used to bind and gag her, they perfectly matched items discovered at Doyle's home, right down to his daily wardrobe. To get a conviction here, the prosecution needed an airtight structure. Step 1 was absolutely crucial. The district attorney fought hard to allow surviving victims, including Cece and another woman named Sarah, whom he'd also strangled, to testify. This established Doyle's terrifying serial pattern of violently punishing women who left him. Step 2, a witness confirmed seeing Doyle moving a massive cardboard box and later a toolbox in his truck right around the days of the disappearance. And finally, step 3, that undeniable key found in his glove box, providing the direct physical link. It only took the jury 2.5 hours to deliberate this one. The verdict? Sean Doyle was sentenced to the maximum 25 years to life for second-degree murder. This finally brought some vital justice for Lori Leonard's 2 young sons, and honestly, a profound, long-awaited sense of closure for the surviving women who so bravely testified against the man who terrorized them years prior. And that brings us to our final section, justice and the wake of circumstantial evidence. So what do these 3 really intense stories, Dana Chandler, Brandon Holbrook, and Sean Doyle, actually reveal to us? Well, they show us that killers often think if they just remove the weapon or sanitize the DNA, they can just walk right away. But let's look at the actual definition of circumstantial evidence. It's proof of a fact or set of facts from which one could infer the fact in question. While it lacks that direct smoking gun, like a video of the crime actually happening, it's often way more powerful. Because when you stack a 27-hour phone blackout right next to a gas can purchase, or a floating toolbox key next to a documented history of strangulation, it forms this inescapable web. The details just keep adding up until there is literally no other logical explanation left in the room. Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to ask yourself. Will the justice system always eventually catch up to those who think they've perfectly covered their tracks? Whether it takes 80 minutes for a jury to decide or a painstaking 23-year legal battle led by a determined daughter with a secret wiretap, these cases prove that the truth has a profound way of floating to the surface. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it provided a fascinating look into the mechanics of solving the unsolvable.